A mudder, by definition, is a racehorse that runs well through muddy conditions. One of the toughest and most determined racehorses you find. A fracas, well, we all know what that is. That's the noise, the commotion, the scuffle. So we coined the term Mudder Fracas, meaning a determined individual weathering through harsh conditions, the commotion, the naysayers, the noise. Today we're speaking with one of them, Zareen. She's on a mission to make an impact as an entrepreneur building product. So for sure, Cash is king. But for Cassius to become king, he had to swing as Ali, the last name they shared, and by the way that she moves, tenacity too, as no opportunity is spared. Introducing Zareen Ali. Welcome to Mudder Fracas, who dare.
Hello, hello, hello. How you doing, Zach?
It's been such a long time. How are you?
I'm great. I'm amazing.
Yeah.
I'm deciding whether to look up or down, but I need to look there.
I've
How's it been?
been good. Yeah, in the God, like what? How long has it been since we actually would have seen each other? It was like what, 2015, I want to say.
Yes, 2015. So it's
Mm,
been close to a decade.
yeah.
Jeez. Wow, close to 10 years since the last time we spoke. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wait, so where are you? When did you move? Did you say you're in Spain? I can't remember where you said you were.
I am, yeah. I'm in
Yeah.
Spain. Can you hear me? First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yep. Can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
awesome. So yeah, I'm in Spain. I relocated here 7 years ago, or I think it's 8 years this
Yeah.
year. Basically, I'm just trying to catch up with my
Yeah.
thoughts. When was it? 2017 it was, right? So I don't know if you remember, my wife's from Spain, so we're
Yeah.
literally in her hometown.
Yeah.
But prior to moving here, we'd been coming here for like a bunch of
Mhm.
years. You know, every summer would come here with the kids. And then after a while, I think it was just a case of, you know what, this London thing is fun, but you know, we had two small kids at the time,
Mm,
um, and it just made sense. Like she was working for an international company, actually still is. So she was fortunate that she could take her job with
yeah.
her, and myself at the time, as you know, I've been working in tech at least well, it's a decade this year since I started
Yeah.
working in tech, and you can almost work anywhere in the world.
Mhm.
So it was like, look, I love London. As long as I can come back to London frequently,
Mm.
then that's cool. I just need like an internet connection and I need an airport in close proximity. And that's it. Yeah. So we're in a place called Vigo. The state is called Galicia, so it's like the northwest of Spain,
Okay.
on just above Portugal.
Mhm.
Have
Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, I'm trying to like visualize it. My geography is so bad. The classic like British education system where I'm like trying to, like when you say Galicia, it sounds familiar, but I wouldn't be able to put any context on that at all.
Yeah. Are you are you into football?
I'm kind of slightly watching the Euros, but I wouldn't say I'm like into it. So
Kind of slightly. You're like me, don't worry.
yeah, I'm just like if it's on, then I'm like, oh, go on, let's do it.
Yeah. You don't want to miss out, right?
Yeah.
I only watch like finals,
Mm.
World Cup
Yeah.
finals and
Yeah,
Champions League finals.
exactly. When you know it's like worth your time because like something's actually happening.
Exactly. I was going to use football as a reference
Yeah,
to try to map. But if you're not into football, you will have no idea who the teams are. Um, anyway, it's nice out here. Again, the state is called Galicia.
mm,
Um, it's what, you know, tourists call off the beaten track kind of tourism.
nice.
So, you know, everybody goes to the
Yeah.
east, you know, Barcelona, everybody goes to the south,
Mhm.
Malaga and stuff like that, Madrid center. We're in the northwest. So it's very different, but obviously it's rooted in Spanish
Yeah.
culture. It's mountainous,
Mm,
it's green, but it's also on the coast. So there's like amazing beaches,
Yeah.
and I'll send you more information. In fact, I'm going to send this clip to like the local tourism
Yeah.
board, and they should sponsor for
I
for
mean,
sponsor.
you've done so well, right? I'm like, oh, sounds like, sounds like where I want to go next on holiday. So yeah, you've nailed
Well, I'll
it.
send you some more information.
Yeah.
It's really nice. But yo, listen, thanks for doing this.
Yes.
I know it's kind of been a long time coming, trying to get a slot in. I've really been kind of watching you. I know that sounds stalkerish, but I've been like just keeping tabs and seeing how you're moving, what you're building. It's very impressive. So I'll tell you a bit about this, right? I think like I explained in the messages, I'm trying to set up, conversations with people that are running like cool companies or, just great startups or initiatives. And like, how the hell did you think of that? What the hell inspired you? Or why? Just like, and it's called Mudder Fracas.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
name. Great name.
Thank you. Thank you. My brain said it made sense. So so yeah, thanks for joining this. And the setup is really casual. I just want to find out about like what you're up to, why you're doing it, but also just about life.
Mm,
You get what I
yeah.
mean? Like what led you to that point and how life treats you whilst you're doing this. So maybe let's start. Where do I start? Can I call you? Do I call you Zaz or Zareen? Which one am I using?
So it's a bit of an interesting one. So I'm not going to say like rebrand it to Zareen because that is my actual birth name, right? I think it's actually kind of interesting. So Zaz was the name that, like when you're at school, you get a nickname that's
Yeah.
given to you and like you don't really choose it, right? It's just sort of like given to you. And then when I was actually doing my master's in the US, I was doing this class that was amazing. And basically people were going around and saying what their names were. And the woman made the point that like names are really kind of like sacred. And so like actually like the name that you choose kind of like represents so much about you. And then I'm like, why am I using some random like name that some like English kids gave me? Do you know what I mean? Because like they couldn't deal with like my actual kind of like ethnic names. And I was like, I'm rebranding back to Zareen. So yeah, call me Zareen. Sorry, that was a very long, a very
No,
long answer.
no, it's perfect. The thing is, I know exactly what you mean. My name is Yao. Yao is the name,
Yeah.
right? It's not shortened. It's literally 3 letters, but you'd be surprised how difficult it is to say you, wow.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and I love that. I love that somebody told you that names mean something. There's a reason you're named that. I'm personally like in my family. Look, there's like 6 of us, right? Siblings, and I'm the only one with like just a straight up Ghanaian name.
Yeah.
All my siblings have English names and Ghanaian names, and then I'm the last born, and I don't know what my parents thought. I was like, hey, fuck it, just give them one name. It's easier. But I take pride in that. This is a conversation for another time. But I've had many names over the years, and at some point I settled and I said, hey, it's Yao. That's what it is. You get what I mean? So I'm never calling you Zaz again. It's Zareen, right? It's how can we put it? Yeah, it's Zareen Ali, right?
It is indeed. Yeah.
Swing like a butterfly, sting like a bee, right? What is it? Entrepreneur of the Year, is that it? Pow, that's one.
Yeah.
Am I hearing right? I heard some kind of award, some kind of
Yeah,
is
this
that
is
so?
another okay, so it was like BAME, Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yeah.
As
Oh, okay.
as an acronym, it's kind of like I'm not happy with, but whatever. It was one of those. I can go deep into that.
Hold on to that. We'll get back to that. I know exactly like, but we'll get to that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, one of the reasons we're speaking is that you seem to be collecting these accolades based on what you're creating, and that's I love that, right? But of course, it's not only about the accolades, right? It's about the product, the movement, the culture, and is it like really affecting change?
Yeah.
And as we know in this startup world that we choose to be part of, are you going to 3x, 5x, 10x? And are those investors going to get their return of investment and laugh all the way to the bank in helping you change the world? Do you get what I mean? So maybe let's rewind a bit. Zareen, I first met you. Like we said, 2015, right? And if you don't mind, I'll talk about this. We can leave this out. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know what the rebrand looks like, but I first met you in 2015, I believe, that was my second, and probably to date, almost most successful startup, through multiple metrics. And you joined the team, on not just a music curation, but also on a product point of view. I say that, right, because you were multifaceted. You understand? You weren't just like this coming in. I remember the first time we sat down. I won't call it an interview because we were early stage. It was a meeting, and it was how do we exchange skills? You get what I mean? How do we exchange skills? Because you were somebody who was talented coming into the organization. I realized that from the jump. I loved it. We brought you on. But what I remember then when first meeting you is, like I said, you were multifaceted. You were go-getter. And you just had a hell of a vision. And that was the start. But that's just a small speck in the world that we exist in. So since then, again, I've kept an eye on your journey, and I noticed that it's very research heavy, right? In terms of, it seems like you've been on some kind of journey of finding and building. And fast forward to today, it looks like seems to me, and you tell me, the fruit of years of experience and research. And I think people build products from personal experience that they're trying to communicate and solve. But that's my understanding so far. So what I'd like to understand is, tell me about your background. Who's Zareen?
Of course. And yeah, just thank you as well for the kind words. So it's nice to kind of think back and be like, oh, who was I back in 2014, 2015 when we first met? But it's kind of nice when you're just you kind of see the seeds of, I guess, where I was going. So yeah, thank you for that. Okay, but in terms of who am I, who is Zareen? So I think why I'm solving this problem now for Cogs AI, there's kind of a mixture of a personal story there, and also I'd say an intellectual interest. So when I left sort of your startup and then started going more down the music tech route, the company that I was working for ended up going into administration. And then after that happened, I was sort of it kind of blew my mind that so much money had been invested into this thing, and then suddenly it was all gone, right? And it wasn't even just money, it was people's effort and love and time. And so I was like, okay, if you're building something, it almost feels like you need to build something that has sort of an impact, which is maybe outside of yourself as well. And so that's why I wanted to kind of go more still staying in tech, but maybe going more into things that are in the medical field or have a social justice element. And so I ended up working for a med tech company. So I was a product manager there. And so we were building diabetes tech. And then whilst I was doing that, I was also volunteering at some children's organizations. And these were organizations where the kids had behavioral difficulties, but actually lots of those kids, it wasn't really the kids that were the problem. It was the kids were neurodivergent, and then they were in a context where they weren't allowed to shine, right? But the context was kind of forcing them to behave in a certain way. And whilst I was working with them, I was like, these kids are amazing. They shouldn't be the problem children. It's the system that's the problem, not the young people. And then based on that, I was like, okay, this feels like a really...
This is in London, right? This is in London, right?
This is in East London.
Cool. East London, great. Okay.
And I was like, this feels like a really meaningful thing to kind of explore more. So that's why I decided to go to the US. So I did a master's in educational neuroscience at Harvard. And I was like, okay, let me educate myself about this.
Okay. You got to pause. Yeah. So you say that that's just nothing. So you paused in your journey. You were working with like kids with challenges or perceived challenges by society,
Mm.
etc. And then you go to the US to do your master's at Harvard.
Yeah. I
Is that correct?
sorry, say that again.
Is that
Yeah,
correct? Did
that's
you say
right.
you went to the US?
Um,
How does that even happen?
I don't know, you do an application and you hope for the best. Like I think it's more people seem to like for me it always feels like a very natural progression. So it doesn't feel like I changed my life at all. It was more like I kind of wanted to go more on that, like making an impact, doing social justice. Initially was doing that
Yeah,
through tech. And then I was like,
yeah,
okay, tech is just sort of a mechanism to do what I need to do.
yeah,
So then when I found almost like a
yeah,
different cause that felt, oh, I really want to kind of dedicate my life more to that. So then like going and
yeah.
doing the masters just felt like a natural continuation for me of kind of
Sure, sure.
journey. Yeah.
But even when I say how does that even happen, we're not talking about like, I don't want to say any names because I don't want to offend, right? But we're not talking about so and so community school. We're talking about Harvard, right?
Mm.
And and we're talking about masters. So first of all, is getting into Harvard, right? It's nowhere near easy. It's not a walk in the park, right? Um, we're talking about like, in terms of your grades, your performance, there's a procedure and there's a
Mm.
system, and then we're talking about masters. Like we all want to do masters, but like, do we have what it takes to hold on and get to that point? So it's even just like the ability and the opportunity to be recognized, accepted, and go for it. That's why I say how does that even happen? So I mean, as you know, having you know having Harvard on your resume, or forget a resume, just on your profile as a professional individual, that's a massive. It's like a stamp of approval. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like the way you see it. You see it like I had a mission and I'm on this mission and I'm going to deliver this mission by way of tech. You're going to your solution and it seems like you're mission driven. I assume, but you're not thinking. It's like you talk like you don't even think about the obstructions on your way. You just think about like that's where I want to get to and this is what we're going to do to get there. I like that.
Yeah, I'd say that that's pretty accurate. I think it's just yeah. Now when you, I think okay, so the Harvard course was just the perfect course for what I wanted to do because it was very, it wasn't just completely academic and it wasn't just completely based in the lab. It was very much about how can we take neuroscience and actually apply it in a real world classroom setting. So it's really like bridging that gap between research and the real world. And so it was actually the only course, the master's course that I applied to, because for me I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. And then if I didn't get that, I probably would have just shifted to something like done like adjusted the course then, if you see what I mean.
Yep.
So yeah, I think maybe it's like, but it's when you're an entrepreneur, right? You have like a little bit of a, there's like something in your head where you just completely believe that you're going to get the thing. And like, you don't stop believing it until you don't get it, right? So you're just like, of course I get the thing. Because like, otherwise, why would I apply for it? So, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of always say like being an entrepreneur, especially of like high growth business, even just high risk, like
Mm.
just forget about high growth, just high risk. High risk meaning like you're risking almost everything you have
Mhm.
to do it. You're throwing your life at
Yeah.
it. Is that you literally are crazy, and I hope there's a better word, crazy, but people will not when you communicate what you're trying to do. It's almost like get out of here, come on,
Mm, mm, mm.
never mind. Um, until it starts to work. And, because you have this vision and you almost have to be that in a sense, because if you think about society, right, it's like seeing something that nobody else sees, you're not considered stable. And if you keep bashing on about that thing that nobody else can see, and you're like, look, I can see it, it's over there. I promise you it's over there. And be like, what's this guy
Yeah.
on? What's this person on? Until you're able to execute and start painting those visuals for other people to see. And when they start to see you've made it visible, then you start nearing from not so sane to genius. You know what I mean? Or whatever other term we can use. But that is the life of an entrepreneur, because like you said, you're you're damn near risking everything to make this thing work.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you do that?
Yeah, and I definitely think I wonder if there's any research about this actually. Like almost like if someone put entrepreneurs into an MRI machine and did different experiments on how they actually like perceived risk and then like what was happening, like what parts of their brain were flashing up, and then you compared it to somebody who wasn't an entrepreneur. Like I'm sure there would be differences because I don't think it's like we make choices that we feel like, oh, this is so risky. Actually, for us, it doesn't feel risky because we feel like we have more knowledge or more information about it. And it's almost like the logical choice to do that. And everyone else is almost making the wrong choice by not doing it, if you see what I mean. Whereas everyone else sees it the other way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, what was your master's in?
So educational neuroscience and developmental psychology.
Okay, so maybe we should get this research commissioned, and when you have time,
Yeah.
maybe you could lead it,
Yeah.
and let's figure out what on earth is in our
Yeah.
heads.
When I have an MRI machine at my disposal, I'm actually trained to use an MRI machine. So though
Oh
I
wow.
haven't actually like put it into practice in a very long time, so I wouldn't trust me. But yeah. So we have the skills to do it.
Yeah, okay. I'll figure it out. I'll put together some kind of project plan for it, and when it makes sense, this might be the one. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, you'd done your masters at Harvard, and then I cut you off. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So then what happened? Yeah, so I got back to the UK. So basically the pandemic happened kind of midway through the masters, which was like, I mean, obviously there were so many worse things in the world going on, but basically I went back to the UK and did the second half remotely because everything was online. And then after the masters finished, I essentially had to decide like what do I do next? And I think when I was doing my masters, I wasn't sure. I actually wasn't thinking about going back into tech. I was thinking much more like going down the social justice angle. And I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to do something more around like young people in the criminal justice system. Because it's one of those things where I'm just like mind boggled at how the criminal justice system works. Like it's like, so full of problems, so full of things which
Yeah.
just like shouldn't be there. And so I actually I interviewed and got a job with the civil service with the DOJ, and then I was
Okay. Department of Justice, right? Is that correct?
And then
Yeah.
I'd also applied to this other program which was called Year Here, which was very different. It was essentially where if it was mainly for people who wanted to switch careers into more of a social justice path, and you did 6 months of working in a frontline placement, and then you spent the other 6 months coming up with a sort of business idea or something where you could use your learnings from that 6 months to make change. And so I had these two offers, like literally where one was like quite well paid. And then you're like, okay, maybe I can change the system from inside. And the other one like actually wasn't paid. So I'd have to be like working alongside it as well as doing the sort of like full-time program. And then I decided, yeah, to take the riskier one, like shock. So to go down the one where it was more about, yeah, like just collecting information and then hopefully being able to start a business based on it rather than working for the government. And also just thinking about it now, like looking back, there's like zero way I would have been able to make change from inside whilst it was like a government. Do you know what you know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
That's wishful thinking.
Yeah, so definitely think I made the right choice. And then, so when I was on this Year Here program, I was placed in a school. So I was working as a teaching assistant for young people with special educational needs, again in East London. And yeah, so I was doing that for 6 months and just, again, was learning so much, just working with because obviously you can like study and you can read papers and like there's all the knowledge that's like in a lab, but then you get into the real world and it's completely different, right? They're both
Yeah.
completely like they're such important pieces of knowledge that almost need to be brought together, but it's quite hard to bridge that, I think, unless you're there or you're in both basically.
And also somewhere like London, it's crazy. Like you have to see it to understand what we're speaking about,
Yeah.
right? It's that it's a multitude of cultures and experiences all in one
Yeah.
place. It's like a melting pot. It's amazing, right? Um, but just as like how the social system, they're overcharged. They're overcharged. I have two family members who are like well, actually four,
Mm.
who are knee deep in the social. What do you call it? The social system.
Yeah.
Like they work, they work on the social side of
Mhm.
government, like helping underprivileged, blah 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 blah. And it's deep. It's deep. It's like, we talk about like injustices. We talk about behavioral problems and all of these things, but it's like you really have to get down to a grassroots level to actually touch the people and see
Yeah.
and understand how people are
Yeah.
living and understand what they have access to and what they don't have access to and why it's set up and is this a social construct or is it not, to really start fixing it from there on.
Mm.
Just being educated and alone, I don't think it's, and you have to be ready, like,
Mm.
to see like harsh realities,
Yeah.
no. And so London is that melting pot
Mhm.
of all of this on all social
Yeah.
levels, and it's something else.
Yeah.
Something else.
Um,
Honestly, that was one of the reasons we left London.
mm.
It was like we have kids, two young kids. We were living fine. It's not that we were living bad or anything, but we were living fine. But it was just like want to give them the best possible
Yeah.
opportunity and grow up in a place that's calm, access to nature,
Mhm.
and you are who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
There I go again. Cut
No,
you off. Sorry,
no,
Zaz,
no,
continue.
no, it's chill. But like, it's such an important thing, right? That people don't really, that is like the difference between like living in cities and living out with more nature. There's even really interesting kind of like impacts that it has on your brain. Like, I won't go deep into it right now, but yeah, it's fundamentally just even like cognitively more stressful to look at, say, like sharp edges, for example, rather than things which are like more curved. And so like your eye is literally having to like put more effort in to look at sharp edges. And then your brain is putting more effort in to even process it. So even like the fact of living in a city is just like a little bit more stressful in every single interaction than if you live in the country, for example. But yeah, so yeah, tough for the city kids in lots of different
Yeah.
ways. But yeah, so basically what I was seeing in the school, I think having come from a product background, even though I wasn't intending on going back into tech, I just like, when you just can't help almost like thinking like a user researcher. I was like, oh, like where are the pain points? And like what kind of persona is coming up? And so like all of this stuff is going around in my head. And then yeah, I ended up just thinking like where are my skills? Right. So obviously having the sort of neuroscience skills, but then also having the product and tech skills as well, because there won't be very many people who will have all of those, like the Venn diagrams, which then cross, right? And so I was like, it would actually probably make sense for me to try and do something that was tech focused, because that's where, my unique capabilities lie. And so, yeah, just decided to go down the tech route. Was initially going to build an educational tech product rather than we've gone at the moment, we're much more healthcare focused. And yeah, so basically me and my co-founder, so sorry, I didn't mention, so he's called Felix. We met on this Year Here program. And his sister is ADHD.
Which program?
So Year Here, so the one I was saying where they play.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned it before.
And yeah, so he was someone who was on that program, and we just like intellectually got on really well, and also just like vibed. Like we had like a very like good vibe together, and so we decided to work together on this startup. And we applied just essentially with like an idea to Bethnal Green Ventures, which is a tech for good accelerator program based in London. So we got on.
Maybe Bethnal Green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. Like I 100% recommend them, especially if you're early stage. And so, yeah, they took a chance on us, they invested in us. And then essentially what we realized through their program is that even though the product idea was good, actually selling it, so to make a business out of it, wouldn't have worked, because trying to sell into schools that have no money, it just like there isn't a business model there. And so we were
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
we need to pivot. And what we did is just explore the problem space. Like,
Okay. So can I pause you for a second? So you met your co-founder a year here,
mhm,
yes?
yeah.
And you conceptualized, what did you have, an MVP at that point? What did you have, a prototype? And what did you have at that point
Basically,
before you got
yeah.
into like Bethnal Green Ventures?
Yes, what we had at that point is we had just done lots of user research. So in terms of just went out and like spoke to lots of young people. We built out some just like very, very simple like wireframes, and just kind of went like and tested them with young people. So just lots of sort of like, kind of like lean startup, kind of like hacky experiments to
Yeah.
be like, okay, where are the pain points and what could be some potential solutions for those pain points. We also did user testing with teachers as well, because obviously like the
Okay.
child would have been the end user, but like the teacher would be, the person who's kind of like has to use this platform to help them like teach
Yes.
the child. But like
And so at this point, the product is for teachers or for carers or for institutions slash schools to work with students at this point. And I understand that you said this, you've just got like wireframes with loads of research incorporated at that point. But what's the product vision at that point?
so it would have been,
Stage one.
yeah, so personalized learning for neurodivergent kids. And essentially what we would have
Great.
done is like taken learning content, so like lesson content, and then you break each almost like piece of lesson content down into like its smallest unit, and then you would serve those like combination of units to different children at the rate at which they learn. So for example, if you're trying to
Okay.
get from like A to B, some kids might need like 5 steps to get there, some kids might need just like 2 steps to get there. And if you're a good teacher, you kind of understand that each child learns in a different way, and you try and teach
Yeah.
to almost like the steps that each child needs. But if you have a class of like 20, 30 kids, you're not going to be able to do that for every child. And so what we would have done, essentially built software that could break down all the content, and then it would serve it to each child at the pace at which they learn. And
Yeah.
I say even from a product perspective, it was quite a big, I think now with like ChatGPT and other things where like there are like larger repositories of content that are available. It's probably easier. It's one of those things where like I really want someone to build it because it's still a good idea. But at the time,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you straight up, like what you're explaining to me, I've got two kids, one's 16, one's 9. And they both have different learning speeds, capabilities, etc. And definitely I would appreciate if, at some point teachers had understood that kids learn at different paces and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just definitely the educational system needs an
Yeah.
overhaul worldwide.
Yeah.
So you're onto something. But I understand that was vision number one. I get it. Okay, great. I cut you off.
Yeah. Didn't cut me off at all.
So yeah, you're saying you might build it because you think it's still very relevant. I do too, but don't use me as the litmus test.
Okay, like so, someone definitely needs to build this. But yeah, so and I think for us, if we think about the vision, it was always about inequality. That's something that's never changed, where like neurodivergent communities tend to experience so much inequality compared to neurotypical people. And so at first we were focusing on education as being the inequality gap that we wanted to try and close. Whereas then when we started thinking about the whole space in a little bit of a wider way, we're like, okay, where are the other places where people are finding, or experiencing inequality? And actually it was healthcare that kept on coming up again and again. So essentially what we did is we went and spoke to more neurodivergent people, and not just kids this time, or like kids and parents. We went and spoke to adults and we're like, hey, like, what are you experiencing? And it was just mental health was the thing that just kept on coming up again and
Yeah,
again. And
mental health.
yeah, and then when you look
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
statistics, it's just really, yeah, there's just some really, really like awful statistics. So, for example, like autistic people are, like 9 times more likely to die by suicide. If you're ADHD, you have like a 70% chance of having anxiety and depression. So yeah, these are like very high numbers. And it's quite a multifaceted reason why. So like some of it is, okay, you just process emotions differently and therefore you might be more susceptible. But also a lot of it is the fact that you're existing in a world which isn't designed for you. So you're constantly coming into conflict with lots of structures which make you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Existing in a world that isn't designed
Yeah.
for you. That hits hard. Continue.
But yeah, so like for us, we were like, okay, this feels like such a powerful place where we could try and make change. Let's see what we can build in that space. And so again, just like went back to the drawing board, did lots of different prototypes, went and spoke to so many people to ask them, okay, like what are you doing to support yourself? Because a lot of people couldn't get the access that they needed from the healthcare system. Because even if they could access mental health support, there's so many like waiting lists and things like that to get through. And even if you go through all of that, a lot of the support that's available, especially on the NHS in the UK, you'll just sort of be given CBT, so like cognitive behavioral therapy by default. And often CBT doesn't work for neurodivergent people because it was created, based on neurotypical brains and how they work. So when neurodivergent people do it, and we can't really generalize because obviously there's such a variation, but lots of people say like CBT hasn't been effective for me. And so we were like, okay, what are the things that people are doing naturally, which maybe they don't realize are sort of like supporting their mental health, but they're just talking about it as like, oh, I do this and it makes me feel better. And so what we were finding, it was like lots of stuff where it was like completely non-medicalized, right? So like music was like a massive theme that came up, like someone being like, it's not the exact quote, but we did an interview where someone was like, yeah, like, listening to music has been probably like the greatest thing that has helped, support my mental health. And then other things like just like experiencing like nature or beauty, or, even just like going and like watching YouTube videos of like cool fractals and stuff like that. People just like are creating experiences that they find very soothing. And just to go a little bit deeper into why those might be specifically relevant to neurodivergent people. So neurodivergent people will tend to have sensory differences. So just the way they experience the world through their multiple senses might be a lot more strong compared to a neurotypical person.
What's the textbook definition? I know what neurodivergent is, but what's the text definition? If somebody's watching this and they're like...
So the way to think about neurodiversity is that it's an umbrella term. So it encompasses a lot of...
Say that again, pardon?
It's an umbrella term. So it encompasses a lot of different diagnoses. It could be autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyscalculia. Like there's all these like different things that fall under it. And fundamentally what it means is that you will process information differently from a neurotypical person. And that could be because of your brain structure is a little bit different, because sort of like neurochemicals that sort of like the messengers that send kind of signals between different parts of your brain might work a little bit differently. There's also sort of like different layers for why that information processing is happening in a slightly different way from somebody else. And if you kind of look at it statistically, there'll be, because like in all humans, there's a lot of variation anyway. But if you look at neurodivergent people, so like if it's like a bell curve, neurodivergent people will tend to be in like the extreme ends of those bell curves. So most people will be functioning sort of in the middle with still a bit of variation, whereas neurodivergent people will be experiencing the extremes on each end. So yeah, almost like, I don't know how to explain this well, but like almost like if you think about a neurodivergent person's experience, it will be similar to a neurotypical person's, but just like exaggerated by 10 times. So everything is just like a little bit more intense, which can be good for positive things, but it can also mean that negative things are just felt more intense as well.
And where you fall on is it fair to say spectrum?
Yeah,
or
completely.
Okay. You can tell like I have to be cautious with the terms that I use because I'm not completely clued up on how to describe the the different states, do I even say, or okay, no thanks, that is very useful. So I'm aware of... it's another conversation for a whole nother time, but I threw you off, but I do want to get back to you talking about like, you know, how music it seems to be like some kind of stimulant or positive, um, 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 gives a positive experience. But like, I tried the app and it had like 16 questions, right? And a lot of them I could relate to in some shape, way, or form. So it got me thinking, do I need some kind of diagnosis? But that's a whole other conversation for another time. Um, and I say this to say, I feel like the world that we live in, for a lot of us, like you said before, was not necessarily made for us. Um, it is what it is. It's just how society is formatted, how the workplace is formatted, how schools are formatted. And so the most important parts of our lives are like school and work, right? You got to go to school to learn to work in that structure. So you're learning a certain way to have output in a certain way, right? And this is what it is. And if you're not built for that specific structure, then you're screwed. You're fucked, right? And I feel like we need to deconstruct what that looks like. I feel like there is a lot of deconstruction happening with like our evolution of technology and how we're using tools. But let's see. That's a whole nother conversation. In fact, Zareen, I want to sit down with you like in 3 years. I predict a lot's going to happen. And I want us to have a new conversation. Well, hopefully before that. But my prediction is 3 years. Things are going to look different. I'd love to talk again there. But let's backtrack. So you were talking about how, paraphrase from, I guess, one of your researches about the experience that music brought as some kind of stimulant, was it?
Yeah, it would be, sorry, just to like circle back a little bit to one of the comments that you made though about
Okay.
sorry, because this is so interesting. You can like cut it out and like put things into like a better order when you're
That's cool. Don't worry about it.
but I just
Yeah, definitely headed.
so
Yeah.
even what you were saying about how like school trains you to fit into a certain system at work, and if you don't fit into that mold, I would almost argue that there's very few it's kind of that thing of like when you build for the average, there's no one who is actually average, right? So there's very few people who actually fit the school system and then fit the work system, right? Because that's why people are so unhappy generally, because we're all trying to fit into
Yeah.
a system that doesn't really work for us. And so one of the things that we say when we talk about building sort of like inclusive systems for neurodiversity is that actually if it benefits a neurodivergent person, it's highly likely to benefit everybody else as well. Because if you're building for the extremes, you'll make it much more of an accessible process for everybody. So even like, remote work is that perfect example of flexible working. If you're doing it for somebody who's autistic and maybe needs, like a little bit more time away from people or to just like be in their own space, you're also going to make that more inclusive for, for like a parent who's like, look, I just need to also like be at home. So like I can be there when my kid comes home from school, or do you see what I mean? So like you're creating environments that work for people who have multiple different needs. And so that's kind of what you need to do to make society better for everyone, right? It's like almost like building for the extremes rather than building for the average. So that's kind of like
I like that.
part of the argument when we go and try and speak to like say like workplaces and be like, look, everything that you're doing here is not just for neurodivergent people, it's gonna benefit everyone.
I like that. Makes a lot of sense.
But sorry, what was your original question? Because now I've forgotten.
Oh no. We were just getting back on track about I guess it was like stimulants, should I say that? Like the experience that music or that gave to, I guess, some of your users or somebody that you were doing research with. And I guess you were talking about how the product started to pivot.
Yeah. So music is so interesting, actually. If you look at the neuroscience of it, it impacts almost like every single part of your brain. And so it can be used in multiple different ways for multiple different sort of like therapeutic interventions. So there's like really interesting use cases in terms of people using it to support like recovery from Parkinson's, for example, or even like stroke recovery. And it's just like, yeah, it has so many benefits. But yeah, so for us, when we were kind of seeing that like music was something that was coming out really strongly, like interacting with like visuals, interacting with beauty, we were like, okay, let's try and build to that. So rather than everything else that's out there, which feels super medicalized, right? And it's kind of telling you like there's something wrong with you and we need to fix you. We're like, let's flip it. Let's just say like, actually, is there anything wrong with you? I don't think there is. Like you're just being yourself and you experience the world in a different way. And what that means is that you just need different types of experiences to support your mental health or whatever sort of state that you want to get into. And it doesn't have to be like you're doing it as a treatment. It could just be like your lifestyle needs more music in it, or your lifestyle needs more movement or like interaction with nature. And if you make changes in your day to day, that's going to benefit your brain and benefit your body. And so that's kind of the way that we like to frame things.
Wow, love that. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because, um, I'm somebody who, look, I grew up artistic. I was painting from a kid, since a kid. Had paintings in like, I grew up in Botswana, Southern Africa, beautiful country. I'm Ghanaian by culture. My parents are entrepreneurs living in Southern Africa. Um, and very artistic. I had my art in art galleries, local art galleries. But this was my thing. I was always on the creative side.
Mm.
I wasn't scientific. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, um, and I had my own unique experience of learning. Was I lacking? No, I wasn't lacking, but I had a lot to offer. But what I could offer was just not recognized in
Mm.
the standard way. And I've seen it happen you know, with my son. Yeah. But we're on the tail end of like crazy experiences.
Mhm.
Like, no, he's great, but like of like just educational systems understanding this process. And I love what you just said because it's almost crazy, in my opinion, right? Who am I? I'm not judge or juror, but it's almost crazy that we don't take into account people's patterns and natural occurrences and how they are. It's mad. It's like I think of like we reflect of 10 years ago and only 10 years ago, it looks like the 1500s. If you think about it, right, like how like like systems are so rigid.
Mm.
Why would you do that to somebody?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to people? Why wouldn't you give them the opportunity to be who they
Mhm.
are and cultivate their differences or
Mhm.
similarities and cultivate them and invest in them and
Yeah.
so anyway.
No, 100%. And also, even if you're like what you were saying, like we have like a Victorian school system that's almost assuming that, okay, we need to give people enough education that they can then go, like work in a factory or just be like a cog in a machine, right? Whereas now that we have machines, we have technology that can do all of that work. So really what we need are people who think creatively and not just, I guess, in the conventional way we think of creativity, right? Which is like art, music. Because actually, if you look in those industries, there's like a massive proportion, like a disproportionate number of neurodivergent people, right? Because it's actually
Yeah,
valued to be able to think differently, right? So people will self-select, like if you have that opportunity, right? Because obviously you need to have like a little bit of privilege to be able to choose to, really like shape your future quite a lot of the time, right? So if people have got that, then they can self-select and go into the creative industries. But then we don't just need creativity in the arts, right? We need creativity in tech. We need it in business. We need it, in every single industry. Like even if you look at the UK, right, our productivity is so low just from like business productivity, right? And if you think about the reason for that is like the types of people who are going into business all think in the same way and all just try and like, use the same framework. Whereas actually what you need is people who think differently, who are trying to like create their like a new framework or new like futures and ways of working. And you just don't get that at the moment, right? You just get sort of like, I don't know, the same sort of thinking.
yeah, yeah. So you and I know the product, right? So I'm trying not to like, describe it from my perspective, but it sounds like the pivot was, and correct me where I'm wrong, right? The pivot was towards, I guess, recognizing abilities and how how to focus on stimulating those. Like, am I on the right track? I mean, feel free to pick up where I left off.
No. So I think, to be honest, we're also like not necessarily struggling because there's so many different things that we could target from a product perspective that for us we're kind of trying to like actually at this moment figure out what's our like clear value proposition, because we know how we do things, which is like, so we use sensory methods, so things that like, make your body go like ping. Essentially we use that to try and support with mental health or other goals that you have. So that's one element of what we're doing. But actually, a lot of the experiments that we're currently doing about how can we bring in different aspects of the neurodivergent experience. So not just thinking about mental health, but thinking about like your physical health, right? Thinking about exercise, thinking about diet, because all of these things obviously have a massive impact on your well-being. And also, if you're neurodivergent, you will have differences in how your physical body is actually like how it responds to the world as well. And also people tend to have like differences in like diet and food restrictions and things like that. So actually for us, I think where we want to get to is not just being about mental well-being. It's about holistic, almost like, yeah, trying to make people feel that if you're neurodivergent, you can just go through your day to day and like the app kind of is there for you. Like any place that you might experience friction,
Yeah.
we can kind of support you with that problem. And it's not just, mental health. It's like almost like, yeah, the companion that's in your pocket.
Yeah. The companion that's in your pocket. Like so I was like trying to figure out how I would describe Cogs AI. And I think you kind of just said it right now, right? I gave it a whirl, gave it a spin, like I said before. And how I see it is it's like an assistant that helps you checks on your well-being, but helps you appreciate your well-being and yourself, inspires you, and also gives you access to a community of people just like you, or maybe not just like you, but community of people who are collectively, trying to thrive and exist. That was okay. Not quite an elevator pitch, but that was my understanding of Cogs. Like, how would you describe Cogs? If you're speaking to somebody who's not from the tech world, and it's like, hey, Zareen, what do you do?
So I guess the elevator pitch is we're reimagining healthcare for the neurodivergent community. But I don't think that's very like investor focused, if you know what I mean. If I think about what do we really want to do, we want to almost like create neurodivergent joy, right? So if you're neurodivergent at the moment, you probably won't feel good about that. And we want to flip that. We want you to just like almost like love the fact that you are neurodivergent, love the fact that you are different, see all those strengths and view it that way. And then like feel that for the things that are difficult, you have strategies or tools that you can use to support yourself so that it's not a stress, right? And like for Cogs, what we want to do is take that stress away from you and like, yeah, almost like turn up the joy and turn down the stress. Like if it was sort of like, I don't know, like, like those DJ things where you're just shifting the dials. That's like, yeah, that would be our ultimate thing, like turning up joy, bringing down stress.
Nice. And cool. So now let's just understand you as a founder. You know, it's choppy waters, right? Where are you today? What does your team look like? And if you can talk about it, like how much have you raised today?
Yeah, of course.
And are you fundraising?
Yes. Okay, so I will go backwards. I'll start with the fundraising. So we have raised around 600K to date, but I would say a big chunk of that is grant funding. So in terms of we got like government grants from the UK government.
Government grants. Can I say that government grants are a pain in the
Yeah.
to get. I've been down that
Yeah.
route before. It's an art. There's a skill to
Mm.
it. It's not for the faint-hearted. So
Yeah.
kudos to you to manage to get those government grants because you damn near have to do like a whole thesis.
Yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will say we use grant writers, so I can't take the whole credit for having to write the whole thing. But
However you do it,
mm,
the point is to get it.
yeah. So yeah, so we actually just got an EU grant as well, which is we're just
EU
figuring it out.
grant.
Yeah, so technically
Okay.
we're still allowed to get some EU grants. It's like a women
Yeah.
in innovation one. So just got that one through quite recently. But yeah,
Okay.
so like we in terms of funding, because of just like the type of company we're building, we're like, okay, we can get non-dilutive funding from grants. So we just have some grant writers that are constantly kind of working with us. They're contractors who just like look for opportunities and who really understand the business. So they will just apply for us. So
Yep.
you get like little sort of, like I say a little bit, like 50K here, hopefully like,
Yep.
larger ones like 100K here and there. And so that's just like kind of good to have going on in the background. Apart from that, we got investment from Bethnal Green Ventures, as I mentioned, and then we also did a friends and family round, and also kind of like it was like friends, family, and also angels, but they weren't professional angels; they were more just people who we'd interacted with. Maybe we'd like spoken to them through a
Yep.
user interview, and they just really believed in our mission and kind of wanted to contribute. And it's not like people are putting in massive amounts, right? It's sort of like a grand here, a grand there, but it was kind of really validating for us because it showed that people believed in what, like people from the community believed in what we were doing. So yeah, so that was, I guess, our funding up to now, and where we're going in the future. So we're raising an angel round. And the point of that angel round is basically for us, the next sort of stage as a company, as we're going to be launching direct to consumer in the US. And so we're going to use that angel round to essentially fund our initial US launch until we can get the metrics up that we need, like the consumer metrics that we need from D2C sales, that we can then approach US based venture capital funds to be like, hey, this is what we're doing. We've already got traction in the US. Let's just like get you on board now so that we can really scale in the US. So that's our fundraising plans basically for the next year and a bit.
Are you able to describe the angel round? If you're not, fine, that's fine. This is going on the internet. But what I meant is like, what kind of like, how much are you trying to raise?
Yeah.
And I only ask because would love to send this out to any angel investors we know.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so I think we're still fleshing it out, but we're looking to raise around 500K. That would be,
Okay.
I would say, like the ballpark that we're aiming for at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Great valuation, or you still have are you
So
able
I
to
think
talk about that?
we're still figuring out the valuation.
That's cool. That's cool. And the team? What does the team look like?
So the team is super lean at the moment. So it's myself, I'm CEO, and then Felix, my co-founder, who's COO, and we have Sophia, who's our lead engineer, who's autistic themselves, and they're just amazing. And they have 17 years of experience across like the full software stack, and just really like the powerhouse, driving the sort of like pace at which we're just pushing out new functionality. So that's the core team. And then we have contractors who work with us. So we have a designer who we've actually recently on in the past month. And it's just made such a difference to just, how someone you can have like the ideas in the app and they just like use some like UX shit to it. And it's just like, you haven't really changed anything. You've just kind of restructured things and made it look good, but it just feels like a completely different experience. So, yes, the designer's called Chris. Like they've just been such a godsend. And then we have like a PR person who works with us. So all the stuff that you've been seeing on LinkedIn, like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like my PR woman being like, you need to post about this. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she's there. And
Yeah, no, you've done a good job. Yeah. And just to add to that,
yeah.
the website looks clean, looks
Mhm.
great. I love the UX. The product looks good as well, you know. And, as a founder myself, I know how like it's it's like going outside in a bad combo. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's you need to look right.
Right.
The UX and the UI needs to look right. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And I think what I would say is like, even though we're such a small team, we have so many. I think I didn't realize how, when people talk about how important your network is, it's obviously not just to like
Yeah.
get jobs and things like that. There's just been so many people who've given so much of their time to us. So, for example, someone that I used to work with at a previous role, who's an AI engineer, and
Nice.
he's been working with us for free pretty much since the beginning, helping us essentially like structure how we save our data, like think about what data we are collecting, and then just helping us with some like small neuroscience bits, data science bits here and there. And I think it's just been so great because we've got all that resource for free. We know that we're a data-driven company, and that really the way we're going to solve this problem is through machine learning, AI, and personalization.
Yeah.
And so even from like our very earliest stages, the way that we are collecting data, labeling data, structuring it means that as soon as we have the funding, we bring on a data scientist, they can just go, right? So a lot of that
Nice.
thing that people have when they bring someone on and they're like, oh, like you have this data, but it's a mess, and they have to spend like months kind of cleaning up and untangling it. Like that's not for us. We've already prepped. So yeah, just like, and that was all because Pete was giving us his time. So yeah, I'm just very grateful for like the people that we have around us who've been supporting us. So yeah.
Nice. 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 So back to where we started. Zareen Ali, swing like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
I actually
Um,
do boxing. I just started
oh, do you? I don't.
like 2 weeks ago. Oh,
So, okay,
yeah,
okay. Like in a gym,
yeah, yeah. As in like a stinky boxing gym, right? I've got
like East London stinky gym kind of.
yeah, I
Oh,
got like my personal trainer, who's like
yeah,
an amateur who's about to go pro, and it's just like, yeah, it's just I don't know. So I think as a woman, there's very few like when you ever hit something as hard as you can, right? Like you're socialized to not be aggressive. And it's just like so
yeah,
great to like be in a space where people are actually like forcing you to do the opposite. Or
yeah. Like go hit harder, let's go.
yeah, or just like a specific example, you're not allowed to apologize when you're in the ring. So like if I like miss a punch, I'd be like, oh sorry. And then if you do, you have to do 5 press ups, right? And so it's amazing how quickly you train yourself out of saying sorry. And then it's kind of translated into the real world as well. Like I'll be writing an email and you're something like, oh, like sorry about this. And I'm like, why am I apologizing? There's like no reason. And so it's just honestly, it's like it's been so good. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I never thought about that because
Mm,
we all do. Oh, sorry. Oh. That's interesting.
yeah.
Zareen, I've learned a lot from this conversation. I've learned so much. I've also been inspired. I love a lot. So thank you. It's been giving me a bunch of your time. I want to do this again,
Mhm.
but in the meantime, you know, thank you for like giving Mudder Fracas one of our first interviews. You know, um, this will be coming out soon. I'll keep you posted on how it's going. I wish you all the best with your journey. Definitely going to share this with our investor network, but we're also going to share this with like up and coming founders and entrepreneurs who want to understand frame of mind and journeys and just also people. So keep doing what you're doing. Um, I think what you're building could help to change the way we're being educated and just the way we're addressing mental
Mm.
wellness and the way we're addressing different approaches and frames of mind. Um, I think I classify myself as a potential user of your product. I probably have to get diagnosed, but I deal with mine very well, fortunately. So just keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll just say one thing, don't feel that you have to like get a formal diagnosis because there's so many barriers to diagnosis, right? Whether they're like medical barriers or yeah, just like again, there's so many like biases even in the whole diagnostic process and like it's essentially designed for like
Yeah,
little white boys, right? So it doesn't necessarily fit different people. So I think that's something else that we talk about a lot. Like we don't like self ID as being neurodivergent is becoming much more of a common thing, especially amongst younger people. And so for us, we don't say you need a diagnosis to kind of like come to Cogs. We're seeing Cogs as like the place where if you feel you need us, like you're in the right space. So don't, I guess, like doubt yourself if you don't have a diagnosis, would just be my last point. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And it's just been good to catch up. So definitely
It is.
keen to do it again.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. We'll speak soon again. So I'm gonna let you go because you gotta fly. All the best. Speak soon. I'll keep you posted on what's.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.